So that is policy in general, but what does policy have to do with cybersecurity? Well, recall that we previously discussed vulnerabilities and threats such as malware. As IT security professionals, you will be asked to manage many different kinds of threats that you would have in the workplace. We are able to do that through the use of security controls. And this is where policy comes in. See, we put security controls into three major categories. The first category is managerial control. This is a control that focuses on the design of the security or the policy implementation associated with the security. We might have a set of security policies for our organization or set of standard operating procedures that everyone is expected to follow. And of course, we can use our own systems to prevent some of these security events from occurring. These would be technical controls. So if you've implemented antivirus or on your workstations, or there's a firewall connecting you to the internet, you would consider these technical controls. The third is operational controls. These are controls that are managed by people. If we have security guards posted at the front doors, or we have an awareness program to let people know that phishing is a significant concern, these would be operational controls. Just like with policy in general, a cybersecurity policy is a statement of what is and what is not allowed. It defines what it means for our system being in a secure state versus an insecure state. A policy is written with the assumption that a secure system starts in a secure state and defines all the transitions that would keep it in a secure state. This is important because if we start insecure, like for example, our laptop is already infected with malware when we buy it, then no matter what policy we devise, like installing anti-malware or prohibiting USB devices, it's not going to help because our premise was flawed to begin with. Having a policy is important because it's going to guide our implementation and determine who has access to which resources and in what manner, so as to maintain confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Remember, a policy does not define how we are going to enforce and implement a secure state, but it does say what it means. Enforcement is the job of controls or mechanisms, not of the policy. If we consider a computer system as a finite state automata with a set of transition functions that change state, then a security policy is a statement that partitions the state of the system into a set of authorized states or secure states, so to speak, and unauthorized or insecure states. A security policy sets the context in which we can define a secure system. What is secure under one policy may not be secure under a different policy. For example, strolling into your campus building, knocking on the professor's door and walking in may be secure if you are at a university, but not at the district courthouse. The courthouse is a government building and everyone is required to present an ID and have their belongings scanned for explosives at the gate before they can visit any offices. A good policy will start us in an authorized state and keep us in an authorized state in every transition. So if we consider this finite state machine, it can be seen that the picture has 4 states and 3 transitions. Now the green states are the authorized ones and the yellow ones depict insecure states. Now, this is a secure system because we are starting in a secure state and remaining in a secure state. Now, if we add a transition from an insecure state to a secure state, what do folks think? Is it still a secure system? Yes. Remember that it doesn't matter that we are able to go from insecure to secure, but rather the other way around. The other way around, going from the secure to the insecure, should not be possible. So if we add a transition from secure to insecure, then that is not acceptable. And we need to set up a policy that defines clear rules so that this cannot happen. Here are two finite state machine examples of a real-life security system, a turnstile. You put a token or a coin in one of these at the subway station and it will unlock, allowing one person to pass through and get onto the train. Now for the first finite state machine, we see that it has two states, locked and unlocked. If we are in the locked state and we try to push it, then and we try to push it to open, it will remain closed. However, if we put in a coin, then it unlocks and lets us through. This is an example of a secure system. Now the finite state machine here on the right has three states. And this new double circled state represents a point of no return. Someone has pushed the turnstile so hard that it has permanently unlocked and it cannot go to the locked state anymore. Hence, this is an insecure system. What kind of policies count as cybersecurity policies? Well, a number of organizations will have a number of policies that will directly or indirectly affect information security. Now, our information is data. So, data protection obviously affects information security. Privacy is also obvious. There is a lot of information that is private and it affects information security. How about email? How does email policies affect information security? Well, certainly email is sharing data, right? So one policy might limit the size of attachments, the type of attachments. If you're a very sensitive company, you may restrict where you may send email to. Maybe use some sort of information scrubber to scrub all emails that are sent out. Now, hiring, what does HR policy have to do with information security? Well, HR tends to have access to a lot of sensitive information. So it's not a fully information security policy, but it has a component of information security policy that you need to be aware of. So that is policy, what has to happen, who has the access, but ultimately we have to implement the constraints that are specified in the policy, and that is done through mechanisms. Mechanisms are technical or operational controls. Now, ideally, you will not talk about mechanism in the policy because you want your policy to be enduring. You don't want to keep changing your policy every time a new technical control comes up, as technology is constantly improving. So an example of a good policy statement is that data in transit should be encrypted. A bad policy statement is to say, you will encrypt data with AES 128-bit cipher using an HMAC SHA as a hash. Remember, the AES 128 and the HMAC SHA are just one of many possible encryption controls, and so it's a bad policy statement to put the names or tie your policy to the names of a specific technology. Pause the video for this quick fact check. See if you can identify for each of these three scenarios what category of control it is. Is it a policy or is it a mechanism? If you think it's a policy, then identify a mechanism that could enforce it. On the converse, if you think it's a mechanism, then identify a policy that it could be enforcing. Okay, so let's see how you did. Customers must call from their home phone provided on their application to activate new credit cards. I would think that this is a mechanism. One policy that it could enforce is that verify that the owner of the card is the only individual who can make changes to the card. For scenario B, only residents of Fargo may enroll their children for free in Fargo High School. This is obviously a policy. And an enforcing mechanism could be the procedure of having the parents show a deed or a lease to housing within the school district. All remote accesses must be authenticated by one-time passwords. This is a mechanism. A giveaway that helps you identify that this is a mechanism is this word here, one time. One time password is a special kind of control. It's a special kind of password that only can be used one time. If you want to log in again, you must get a different password. Now, one policy that could be for this is that only authorized individuals should be able to access university computers.